Hello class, and welcome to section 10.3c. Again, we're doing this chapter 10 stuff a little bit out of order so that we can keep the concepts together. And today we are studying the surface area of cylinders. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to calculate the surface area of a cylinder. When we're looking at a cylinder, this is a shape that has the circle on the top and the bottom, and then the rectangle connecting that around. Our equation here is going to be surface area is equal to 2 times pi times r, which stands for that radius of the circle. Remember, radius is halfway across, times the height, which is how far it is in between the two circular bases. So even if our circle is tilted on its side, the height here doesn't necessarily mean up and down. It means how far it is from one circle to the other circle, whether that's up and down or left and right. So the height is in between the two circles. And then we have plus 2 times pi times the radius squared. So this front part of our equation here, this 2 pi rh, that talks about how far it is around the middle part. So it's that blue piece that we're looking at here. This 2 pi r squared is talking about the top circle and the bottom circle. So if you only wanted the top and not the bottom, you would use a 1. If you didn't want to include either of the circles and you wanted to go just around the middle, then you would use a 0. So that's where the formula comes from. And then remember, when we are talking about pi for the purposes of this class, we are always going to use 3.14. So both of those pi values are going to be equal to 3.14. So for this first example, we're going to find the surface area of this cylinder. We have our radius being 2 and our height being 3 feet, that distance between the circles. So I'm going to say my surface area is equal to 2 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 2, times the height, which is 3. So that takes care of the around middle part. Plus, we need the top and the bottom, so we've got 2 times 3.14 times the radius squared, which is going to be 2 squared. So we're going to break this into pieces now, and we're going to solve the front part in front of the plus sign, so 2 times 3.4 times 2 times 3. And that front value in this case is going to give us 37.68. And then we're going to solve the part after the addition sign, so 2 times 3.14 times 2 squared, and that's going to give me 25.12. And then to finish the problem, we need to add those values together. So when I do that, I'm going to end up with surface area is equal to 62.8. And then we've got feet, and again, all area measurements are squared. So around the entire outside of this cylinder, it is 62.8 feet squared. Go ahead and try this one on your own. In this case, we have our radius as 5, and that height, the distance between the circles, as 10. So we've got our values here. We get 314 plus 157, which gives us 471 millimeters squared. Now, when we're looking at this one, it's a slightly different problem because instead of giving us the radius, they're giving us the diameter of the circle. So we're going to have to take one bonus step in order to figure out the radius. So we're going to say radius is equal to the diameter cut in half. So our radius here is going to be 3 feet. So if they give you the diameter, you have to take this bonus step of starting by finding what the radius actually should be. Then we're going to go ahead and say, all right, so my surface area is equal to 2 times 3.14 times my radius of 3 times the height, the distance between the circles of 8. And then again, we're including top and bottom on this one, so we're going to have a 2 times 3.14 times my radius, which was 3 squared. And then we're going to look the part in front of our addition sign, so 2 times 3.14 times 3 times 8. So that's going to give me a value of 150 0.72. And then after our addition sign, 2 times 3.14 times 3 squared is going to be 56.52. When I add those up, I'm going to get a final surface area of 207.24 feet squared, which is going to be my surface area of that entire cylinder. Go ahead and try this one on your own. So your first step here being, again, to take that diameter, cut it in half to get the radius, plug your values into the equation, solve the first part, solve the second part, and get that final surface area of 376.8 meters squared. Next, we're going to apply this to a word problem. So it says, Hair Specialty Company uses a paper label on all of their hairspray products. Find the area of the label. So when we're looking at this, look at this picture over here. The label does not go at the top of the can. And as you know from looking at other products, the label doesn't go on the bottom of the can. So we've got our radius of 4 and our height between the circles of 18. So I'm going to start with my surface area is equal to 2 times 3.14 times my radius of 4 times my height of 18. And then because I don't need the top or the bottom in this case, I'm going to put a 0 in there instead of the 2 times 3.14 times my radius squared, so times 4 squared. Then I'm going to go ahead and solve the part in front of the addition. So I've got 2 times 3.14 times 4 times 18, which is going to be 452.16. And then plus 0 times 3.14 times 4 squared is going to be 0. So I'm going to have my final surface area then of 452.16 centimeters squared. Because that label only wraps around the center part, it does not include the top or the bottom, which is where that 0 came from. Last one here, we have an open top clay jar, is 4 inches high and has a diameter of 5 inches. A glaze will go outside of the jar. Find the area of the jar that needs to be covered with glaze. So notice it says an open top jar here, which means that you are not including the top. So we are only including the bottom in your equation. And remember, this is the diameter, so you're going to need to find the radius first. Go ahead and try this one on your own. All right, so again, we start by dividing that diameter in half, so we get 2.5 centimeters for our radius. Then we plug in 2 times 3.14 times the radius of 2.5 times that height of 4. And then we only need the bottom, so that's why this one is a 1 and not a 2. So 1 times 3.14 times 2.5 squared, which is going to give us 62.8 plus 19.625. So our final surface area is 82.425 inches squared. If you have any questions about this or anything else from the lesson, please feel free to reach out and let me know.